Well, if you just joined us, we're having discussions with the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, well, His Excellency Erastus Mwencha. Well, in Ghana, he says he prefers to be called Yao, and he's joined us to talk about boosting intra-African trade, which is on preparations for the 7th AU Trade Ministers Conference, which is coming on. It's also the 18th ordinary session of the AU Assembly of Heads of State, so very shortly this will be coming off. But we're looking at other developments. Now, let me move on to trade within Africa. I could tell for a fact that a lot of countries, for instance, Togo would want to even deal more with France, and Ghana probably with England or Britain, than even deal with ourselves. So don't you foresee that this is the situation on the ground? And how is your outfit checking to address some of these developments?
Well, it's unfortunate that this colonial relic has survived 20 years or 50 years down the road. But things are starting to change. The reason for this colonial relic to survive this wrong is because if you look at the design of our colonies, for instance, Ghana,
that's right,
the transport system was designed in such a way that they all converged in a mine to extract those minerals to the port, to the metropolitan. There is very little in the linkages between. There are language barriers, there are communication barriers, and all these aspects. But in Africa, in the last few years, we are now starting to develop transcontinental infrastructure. We have projects which, like, we have Western African gas pipeline.
That's right.
We are now having energy grids in Eastern Africa. We have an energy grid of Southern Africa and Eastern Africa, and that is starting to move to Western Africa. So this pattern is changing. The only thing that we can say is not changing fast enough. That's why the summit again in January is going to focus on this so that we can boost it fast.
My major concern is also with the economic partnership agreements. Now, we're told that at the end of the day, well, for instance, Ghana, when we join, would have a lot of things coming from the European community rather to us. What would make me think about getting the same thing from my neighboring Kenyan country, which is really in Africa? I mean, what do you think about the EPA for Africa?
The European Union is a major trading partner of Africa because 50% of our exports are destined for the European Union, which is quite substantial. But if you look at the nature of products that we sell to Europe, they remain largely primary products. And they are also very vulnerable and subject to shocks. When Europe, for instance, as it is in the moment, with a double dip in terms of economic crisis, this time caused by sovereign debt, the demand for these products is highly sensitive. And you will see, for instance, when there was this big depression, since the Great Depression of the 1920s, in the last couple of years, Africa was very much affected because our exports to Europe plummeted a lot.
That's right.
And the growth in Africa was affected a lot. Now, the reason for EPAS was essentially to enable Africa to continue to access the European market and be compatible with WTO rules. But unfortunately, the way they are being negotiated, there are some contentious issues there which make it very difficult for Africa to accept.
Let me just, because of time, sum it up by finding out, does the EPA form a challenge for any Africa, for Africa in general?
There is a challenge because
challenge.
The way they are structured. And one of the issues that we want to negotiate is there must be a better way than just EPA for Africa to continue to access that market.
I'm sure when stakeholders come together, this topic would come up for discussion. But just before we go, well, my colleague wanted to find out, well, just the easiest way. His father is into traditional medicine. Now, he just wants to, and I'm sure a lot of businessmen in Ghana are thinking, how can I just pick my products and freely cross into neighboring country Togo, neighboring country Nigeria, and then trade freely with my products there? Within a few minutes, can you just address this to Ghanaians so that at the end of the day we can just wrap it up?
If within West Africa, and what we are doing now within the African Union, we move to a continental free trade area, and what we are proposing at this forum here, ministers of trade that are meeting here in Accra and the heads of state and government, we should be able to start moving to a free trade area by at least 2017, if not 2019. Before that, we expect that ECOWAS itself must accelerate its agenda to move towards a free trade area. Of course, some products will be subject for further regulations, particularly in the area of medicine. As you know, medicine have a double regulation.
Okay.
You have to register the drugs because anything that has got safety and security on human life needs to be checked before it can be released to the market. Now, this is why it has been very difficult for drugs to move freely within Africa.
Well, this is why it has been difficult for drugs to move freely. Well, Moon, I'm sure that at the end of the day, the message came right. But we've been speaking to His Excellency Erastus Moencha. Well, in Ghana, he was born on a Thursday, so he prefers to be called Yao. Well, definitely he's the Deputy Chairman of the African Union Commission. And if you also care to know, they are discussing the theme, boosting intra-African trade, well, at the coming 47th AU Trade Ministers Conference and the 18th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly of Heads of States and Governments. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. We sincerely appreciate you joining us on the trade issues. It's still sunrise. We're taking a break at this point on this particular interview. We'll be back with some more interesting details. So please just keep your channel right here and don't flip up.